And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I am your host, Wes Tankersley. Today we have a very good friend of mine, an awesome guest. You just heard his voice in that intro. So before we get to Jhae Finning, who has returned to the show again, we always do this, and he always says that we don't get good ratings when we do a show together, but I don't give a shit. We're going to do it. That's all there is to it. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let's get Mr. Finning on the line. Jhae, what's happening?
Wes Tankersley. First off, thank you for having me back. Secondly, my ratings tank when I have you on. I think when I'm on your show, your ratings might increase. And that's
Is that
probably a
what it
product
is?
because I think your show is a little more important than mine. You know, it touches more people, it reaches more people, it means more to people. Or mine, I just kind of blab about anything and everything. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those things. Jhae and I host One Drink Wednesday together every Wednesday night, and it's been very fun. We've been doing that for a couple of years now. We've been good friends, and we met through a Instagram chat group, and it's just been one of those
One-ish.
things.
Yeah. One-ish drink Wednesday.
Hey, before we get started, I sent you something, and I think we should try it out and see kind of what we got going on with that. So what do you think about that?
So I got to be honest with you. If it's this magic mind, I kind of cheated and took one the other day.
Yeah.
And I wanted to save them for this so that we can kind of do it together. Just like One Drink Wednesday, except for this is going to be, one drink today. And this is probably going to be a lot better for us than anything we drink on Wednesdays.
I think so, for sure. Like this is what it is here. And let's go ahead and hammer this down, and then we'll talk a little bit about it because you cheated, and I want to know what your results are.
Yes. So it's got everything in it, like matcha, and it's full of like vegetables. Do more, stress less, which I'm always, down for. And it's called Magic Minds. Let's take this drink.
It's a green shot. So one of the things that I don't like, for me, like I don't eat any vegetables. So I was like, we'll try it out. So let's do her.
I eat vegetables, but I don't like them.
So it's pretty tasty. I think like when you think of something green, like you think, that's gonna be not that good. But like I said, I don't eat vegetables, and like to get it in that way, it's kind of a good thing, What do you think of?
Usually with a lot of green stuff, it can taste good, but you usually have to, offset it with a lot of fruits, which, introduces a lot of sugar. This isn't that. This is packed full of all sorts of nice things that keep you alert. I'm not a big tea person. I don't really drink the matcha. I'm more of a coffee person. But I will tell you that the other day when I cheated and had one in the morning, because it says you can have one by itself or you can have it with alongside coffee. I took it and I was running some errands in the middle of the day, and it was like, oh, it's 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'm like, I should probably go to my favorite coffee shop. I won't say what their name is, their national chain, because they don't get any run on my show. Tired, dude. I didn't have that typical 2:30, 3 o'clock feeling. And I know 100% that it's because of this stuff, which is, it's amazing. And if I can take this in the morning or whenever I need to pick me up, it's all natural, gives me that energy boost. I mean, why not?
Yeah, it's good stuff. And the funny thing about it was like when you were telling me that, like you were saying, well, I didn't need coffee, because if we know Jhae drinks two things: coffee and booze. And so water is not a very common thing. And if you can take it side by side that and you don't feel like you need it again, that's pretty freaking sweet. So
Yeah. And it's, there's days you really, I mean, you shouldn't drink. I drink a lot of coffee, Wes, and I think I drink it as much. I think I drink it so much that it really doesn't do anything for me. I just drink it out of habit. And I think that's what I experienced the other day. It's like, hey, I feel like I should be getting some coffee right now, except for I'm not going to fall asleep at the wheel because I'm tired. And I know 100% know it's this crazy magic mind stuff you sent me.
yeah.
And yeah, this is, 'cause, I mean, over the years, they always have these energy drinks, these energy boosts. And obviously, you don't want to drink like some of the more popular energy drinks because they're filled with sugar. my son drinks that crap all the time, and I might have one traditional over the counter energy drink every 6 months, not for a pick me up, but I might go somewhere that has it. And I'm like, oh, I haven't had that in a long time. But that stuff will kill you. This stuff
Yeah.
is only going to make you stronger, more alert, and I'm sold on it.
Yeah. I
I got
mean,
to reach out to these guys.
you know me that, you know how I am. It's coffee and then an energy drink. And I need to replace that energy drink. And I think this would be a good thing to do it with. So
You know what's crazy? It says it's best served chilled. I think it's fine at room temperature.
it is 100%. It's good stuff. So I'm glad that it worked for you and you, it actually made you like you noticed that because that's a pretty cool thing. So yeah. So hey, we just got this Thursday. You know, last night we had One Drink Wednesday. We
One
jammed out a
ish.
little bit, and it's kind of fun. We do that every Wednesday. Um, we're talking about moving it though, right? What are we gonna do? We need to get that done.
You know, and it's my fault. Um, I try to stay super busy, and I know that you're no stranger to being busy. But it's, we've talked about this a lot. It's about engagement,
Hmm.
and the people that are loyal to us are definitely loyal to us. Like they love everything that we do.
Yeah.
And I think, to your credit, it'll be better to move it to a platform that's not uh, social media app specific. And what I mean by that is you can't go to a computer and just watch IG
Right.
and stuff. You have to basically be on your device. People consume things on YouTube all the time, and I think YouTube is probably the best platform for it. Plus, we talk about current events. We talk about just shooting the crap at a bar, and it's designed to be one of those things where people can come and hang out with us, and we have a lot of fun. And the people who love it really love it, and I think it's just kind of the next evolution. Yeah.
I'm super excited because like last night we were talking about one of the things that we haven't done in a while, like is we've talked about these kind of segments we have. We have like show and tell, and we have this day in history. And
Mhm.
is there another one? Do we have another one, or is that it?
Well, last night we started doing Rotten Tomato scores.
Yeah. So that's what. So we're thinking about doing that, and I kind of want to figure out a way to like interact with people as they're in, like we were talking about, like they can drop the score and they're like, this is what I think it is. This is what I think it is. And then like, or maybe like Adam did, we like bring on a guest and say, it's you, me, and this guest, like these are the people who wants to play the Rotten Tomatoes game tonight. And I think it'd be pretty cool to do it.
I love that idea, actually, Wes.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of, it was kind of this, it just happened last night, right? It was kind of crazy.
Wes Tankersley, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So this is right on brand, and I'm stealing this from my podcast too, by the way. But you guys have been shuffling cars for a while, and you just recently picked up another car.
Yeah.
Um, tell us about it. Tell us why you keep shuffling vehicles and why you settle for the vehicle that you just did, and are you enjoying it?
So I think you kind of know that there's two vehicles. So which one are we talking about? The red one or the gray one?
Let's talk about the gray one. I think that's the one that's more on brand with me.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, Jay's podcast and non-automotive automotive podcast, and I've been on there quite a few times talking about different things because I do shuffle vehicles often. It seems like, when you first met me, I had a 2018 Silverado, and my wife hurt her back getting in and out of it because it was too tall,
That's right.
and so
Yeah.
we ended up with a Pilot again because we had a Pilot before that, and um, she drove that around for a while, and what happened was we moved, right? So we're out here, we're 30 miles away from where we were before. It takes forever to get there. It's kind of like you talk about Arizona, and this is where we're going. Like it takes an hour to get anywhere or 30 minutes to get anywhere. And it's crazy. But my wife works in Boise, so she's got to drive there.
Mhm.
And we live in Caldwell. So it's like my thoughts were, all right, we need our SUV. Our Pilot's not big enough for our family. Or if we want to haul any more people, like it's big enough for our family, but if you bring a couple more people, and there's not enough room in it. So we
It was
decided
barely
that,
big enough for your family. I think it was fine when there were three of you, but now there's four of you.
yeah,
Four and a
now there's
half. Sorry,
four.
Buster.
Yeah. And then you got a car seat, right? You throw a car seat in there, and it's one of those things where now your car seat's in there. There's not enough room. The Pilot was great, but it didn't have what the Tahoe has, that we ended up getting. So I had a crew cab truck that is actually my business vehicle. So I traded it in on a Tahoe, and then we took the Pilot and traded it in on a Honda Civic
Hmm.
because the Honda Civic gets 40 miles a gallon, and we didn't have a car that got real good gas mileage. I mean, the Pilot was okay; it got like 20 something, but that's not 40. You know, like every time I get in that Civic, I look at it, and it's like 40 miles a gallon, like the average. Like you can't beat that. So that was kind of why we did that. We ended up we kind of flopped them around. The Tahoe gave us more space, and then the Civic gave us better gas mileage. It's more of, we drive that
But
around.
you can't get a car just because of gas mileage, Wes. So there's a ton of cars out there. I mean, there has to be something else about the Civic. It's got nice amenities. You like the CarPlay. I know you're not an Android Auto. Like,
It's
what package is it?
you know me. Like, I mean, here's the thing with me is like I have two types of vehicles that I drive: Chevys and Hondas, and that's it. And so I've gone back and forth with this whole deal for a while now, and Honda is just a great vehicle. They always make a really good car. I don't have to worry about anything going wrong. They're front wheel drive, so like when it's snowing outside, they do really well in the snow. You don't have to put snow tires on it, but I will, for my wife because she's commuting, and it's just I feel safer with her having snow tires on it. But a Honda Civic with snow tires, front wheel drive car is just as good as a four wheel drive. That's even better maybe.
Try to explain that. Like, explain that to people who don't realize that. Because in theory, having a front wheel drive vehicle with snow tires makes absolutely no sense. Like, what? Do you remember life before snow tires and life after snow tires on front wheel drive vehicle?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I had a 91 Chevy pickup. It was a four-wheel drive,
Of
and
course.
what's that?
Of course you did.
Yeah, right. There we go. There's the Chevy. So 91 Chevy pickup is a four-wheel drive. My dad thought he'd, you know, hose me by putting me in a 4.3 V6 because it didn't have any power whatsoever. But people always think that four-wheel drive is the way to go, right? But four-wheel drive doesn't mean four-wheel stop. It just means you're going to get good traction when you go. So you still have to drive, you still have to drive better. In a front-wheel drive car, essentially has, it's kind of like what a four-wheel drive does. You got grip on your tires. So you put snow tires on there and it's just so much better. Like I honestly feel more comfortable driving that Civic. I guarantee you, I haven't had snow tires on it, but the previous ones that I've had, I feel more comfortable driving snow tired Honda Civic than I do a four wheel drive, vehicle with no snow tires. So,
Yeah, and there's a big difference between what is that, a 23 Civic
yep. No, it's a,
and a 91 truck.
yeah.
I'll tell you that we used to have a Dodge Neon ES base model. When my wife, she crashed her car, or dad, someone crashed her car, and she's like, "I want this. I want a used car. It has to have power, everything. It's got to have less than 20,000 miles on it, and I don't want to pay more than $4,000 for it." And I'm kind of looking at her like, "Huh?" So we end up with a Dodge Neon 2002 green ES, no power, or anything. But I was driving that car to college, and I was going around the back side of the school, and I went to stop, and the car just kept sliding slowly, just kept sliding 15 feet. Boom! Hit a curb, screwed up one of the wheels, and I eventually got Blizzaks on the front of that thing. And those Blizzaks, front wheel drive, those holy crap, those Blizzaks were a life changer. So for people out there watching, listening, or wondering if you're in a place that has like real winters, yes, it is definitely worth it to put winter tires on your car. Without those winter tires on that Neon, I never would have got off from work. That was 2 or 3 years before we moved here. It was the worst winter ever
Yeah.
for us in West Michigan. That thing took me out of the hospital. And usually people go into the hospital, but I worked at the hospital, so I got off shift and I was leaving the hospital. That thing dragged me out of that parking lot, across the bridge, which I never would have got over, down my country road, and I got stuck in the bottom of my driveway. But if I didn't have those tires, I never would even got out of the parking lot at work. So I'm a believer in snow tires.
Yeah. And those Blizzaks, those are studless, right? They didn't have studs in them, did they?
I don't know. I just know they're legit.
Yeah. So it's funny because you know me, like I worked at a tire
Like, you're
store
the
for
tire
11
guy.
years. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so we had studless tires and we had studded tires, and studded tires, like, I mean, there's between, we had Toyo Observes, which were a Toyo studless tire, and then we also had the Bridgestone Blizzaks, and the Blizzaks were like, if someone asked me which one would I put on there, the Blizzak is it. It's like a softer rubber. It has more siping in it. It's just it sticks to the road. That's a good one.
I know why. I know why they were studless because I was driving the car and I'm all the stud they need.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I had to work that in there. It took me a while to workshop it in my head as you were talking.
It's funny to me that you are I feel like you have Honda or Acura or it's a Dodge. Why do you like Dodge? What's the deal with this? It's like you got a Dodge Neon, you had a Jeep. What's the deal with that?
So I don't consider a Jeep a Dodge.
But it is a
It's
Chrysler
Daimler
product, right?
Chrysler. It's under the umbrella,
Yeah.
but I don't consider it the same. I guess, it kinda is, but isn't. But I mean, I'm on my second Infinity. We've had 2 or 3 Audis,
Yeah.
and, I just don't go through cars like you do. Like, I hardly ever have cars.
Hmm.
The car that I have outside right now, there's 2 of them. The 2009 that I bought, 2.5 years ago, used, obviously, because it's 2023 now.
Yeah.
Um, and then my weekend vehicle, the 22 Acura NSX, that's the first new car I've bought since 1999. So I've always bought used cars, and it's not because I'm against paying money for a new one, it's just we can never afford them.
Yeah. Well, you're smart because that's the cool thing about what happened with this is I kind of shifted money as what I did.
Mhm.
I had equity in my truck and I put that equity in the Civic. And the idea with the Civic is we bought it, we leased the Tahoe, but we're buying the Civic. And I put my equity into that. And then when Tatum is old enough to drive, my daughter, who is 10 right now, she'll, they can drive in like 14 or 15. We'll probably have the car paid off by that point and it will be her car, is the thought. If I don't know. I always go back and forth with that. It's like, does she deserve something that nice for her first car? Because I had a 91 Chevy.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? We can go into a whole dissertation about what to give kids. Like our son Marcelo, I wanted to sell him our Audi, and my wife wanted to give it to him. And it's just, I mean, shocker, right?
Yeah.
Um, and he turned out all right, but that was just one of those things that, I mean, no one knows your kids. Like, your kids to a certain extent because, people at school be like, you don't know your kid at all, but you know what your kid's hard coding is from day
Right.
one, right? And so for him, I don't know how Tatum is, but he's just incredibly entitled. And so the last thing you want to give somebody that's entitled is something that they didn't work hard for.
Right.
So he's learned over time he works hard for everything he has now, although there's still a little bit of entitlement there.
Hmm.
But as a 27-year-old, he's a lot more mature. And now he'd happily take a car if you gave it to him, but he doesn't mind working for it either. Whereas then he just felt like I should just get this car.
Yeah. And I think that's a generational thing. Like, I feel like I think you and I have talked about this a lot because like my first car that I got, my 91 Chevy that I got, my dad went down there and he co-signed on the loan for me so that I could get it. But he was
Hmm.
like, dude, and he paid for my insurance, but he's like, you're making the payment on this thing. You know, we'll help you if there's something going on. So like if I was playing sports and I couldn't work that weekend or something, like when we had go to
Right.
state, we'd get on a bus on Thursday night or late Thursday night, stay Friday night in Portland, and then play a game on Saturday and then not be back. So I couldn't work. So they're like, well, okay, we'll supplement you this month. But those were the only times that we paid for it. Like my daughter thinks that we're just going to give her whatever. And it's like, that's not the
But
way that
she's
it
also
works.
10.
She is 10. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
She is. But when she's able to work, cause like, I think that's when you start to realize that you actually, something means something to you. Like the first pair of shoes I bought myself lasted me a year because I paid for them. But every pair of shoes that my parents bought me last me 6 months, because it was like I didn't care about it like I did when I had to use my own money on it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a psychological thing, and it's not applicable to everybody,
Right.
but statistically, I think that's you care about more things the harder you have to work for them versus given things, and that's just how people are. Some people would rather be given everything, and it doesn't matter to them, but they just don't get it. And I think you learn that about people pretty early. Obviously, people can change. I know
Yeah.
some people say people don't change. I say people do change, but it takes life's experiences usually to change people. So, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your growing up in your household. How was that with you? Because like I know how it was in my house, like how my dad and mom were with me. Were your parents like your first car, for instance? Like how did that come about? What did you have to do with your first car?
For my first car, it's when my grandmother passed. So, it was willed to my father, and then they sold it to me. And they sold it to me for cheap, and I don't think I ever paid it off.
Hmm.
But, I still had to make a car payment every month. I don't remember what happened with insurance, but I think I was 20 at the time, a knucklehead 20. But, just because I had to pay for it at the age of 20 doesn't mean that I became more responsible, because I was like most people, I wasn't very responsible for a while. Even, I was 22, 23 when I went to college, and I actually had a nice car. There were times I couldn't afford my car payment. And so my parents were paying for like 1 or 2 months of car payment. Um, I think they paid for the insurance once or twice. But the first car, that's how I came across it, is my grandma had to die.
So you had your first car was when you were 20? How did you get like
Yeah, I didn't
around at
even
high
get my
school?
driver's license till I think I was 20.
A
Yeah.
guy who drives around an Acura NSX is like his favorite car. He's all about like you had a love for car when you were young, but you when cars were when you were young, but you didn't have one until you were 20.
Yeah. I mean, and I had friends in high school that drove, you know. I had friends that, I think my friend Chan, he would come pick us up all the time. And I think we were juniors. So he must have been 16,
It's funny.
16 or 17.
I picture Varsity Blues because I know like you went to school in Texas. Like I picture Billy Bob coming to come pick up Mox. That's my that's
Yeah,
my
no,
thought.
a lot of walking home, and that's Odessa. That's way West Texas. I grew
Yeah,
up in the Dallas area, a little different.
yeah,
Um, but it just, I don't remember even when I went to driver's training. Like, things were different for us. I don't think we could have done driver's training until we were 15, get our learner's permit, and then when you're 16, you can get a license, which it might be the case with most places. But just because you get a license doesn't mean you can afford a car.
yeah.
And
So
so, by the time you're 15 or 16, you're working your part-time jobs or whatnot, trying to work up. And of course, as most parents, if you save up half, we'll match it. But that shit doesn't work. It only works for certain people who are hard coded to be like that, I think.
so you had a license, you just didn't have your own car.
Yeah. Yep. I think I got my license when I was probably 18,
Okay.
17 or 18.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Idaho's weird because you can have a driver's license when you're 15. So you get your learner's permit when you're 14, you get your driver's license when you're 15. So I'm a little nervous about that because even though Tatum is 10, I don't think she's going to be mature enough to drive when she's 14.
Maybe she won't want to drive. And then there's another thing though, is you don't have to get them a car. You don't even have to. I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
But just because you're old enough to drive doesn't mean you should drive. Just because you're old enough to drink doesn't mean you should drink. Some people can handle drinking at 19. Some people can never handle drinking.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I think about as I'm saying that about her, I think about like how my parents thought about me driving because my dad basically tried to make me fail my driver's test. He my brother had an 82 Chevy pickup and it was a diesel and it was slower than crap, but he knew that the taillights were out on that thing and he's like you're going to take your driver's test in that tomorrow. So he knew they were out and then the morning of the driver's exam where I had to go take my driving test portion, he goes out there, we got to check the taillights on this, make sure everything's good before you can go. So the other option that I had was my mom's truck was a stick. And if you kill it, you fail, right? So he knew that there was a possibility that I would kill it and I would fail, so I didn't get my driver's license because he didn't think I was ready to drive. Well, I,
Hmm.
I went down there. He goes, well, sorry, you can't take this. The taillights are out and I don't have time to change them. And he had plenty of time to change them because I've changed those taillights before. He just didn't want to do it and he knew it. So he
It's
sent me
messed
down
up.
there. Yeah, it was. So he sends me down there in this truck that's a stick and I passed. And I was like, I passed. And I was so excited. And you know what he looked at me and he said? He goes, just because you passed doesn't mean you get to drive by yourself until you drive with me and your mom a little bit longer. I'm like, you son of a. Here's my
It's
freedom.
true though, man.
I know. Here's my freedom though. Like it's like I got this freedom card right here and you're not even going to let me use it. It was so annoying.
But do you think that was good in retrospect, or do you don't think maybe it wouldn't have mattered?
I don't think it would have mattered. I mean, it was
Yeah.
funny because I ended up driving anyway. Like he said that, but the thing with me was like I could convince my mom to let me do anything, but then if anything went wrong, I was in big trouble. And so that was kind of like
Sure.
what it was, is like, you can drive, like she would say, you can drive, but you can only drive here. So like I would go to my best friend's house, and like I wasn't like a crazy kid or anything like that. Like a good time for me was like when it wasn't football season, Friday night we were at my buddy's house playing pool in his garage and ordering Domino's pizza. Like how many pizzas can you eat and how many games of pool can you go, drinking soda. It was like, it wasn't like we were crazy kids or anything. But boy, you talk to my mom and dad about it, it was like, you're a bad kid. I'm like, this is
We did
bullshit.
the Arby's 5 for $5 challenge a lot because back then you can get five, Arby's roast beef sandwiches for $5.
Yeah.
So we used to do the Arby's 5 for $5 thing. So back in the day, you used to be able to get 5 roast beef sandwiches for $5. It wasn't all the time, but when we did that, we used to go by and see, okay, how many bites would it take to kill an Arby's? And I think we would do maybe two. But what
Oh,
happens is you stick half the thing in your mouth, and you're kind of, you have one side of your mouth just filled up, and the other side you're kind of like nibbling away at it, kind of
yeah.
like it's some sort of a food processing mill in your mouth. But we didn't really get in a lot of trouble either. But there just wasn't a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of the thing. Like I grew up in a town that had maybe 10,000 people in it. And, most of them lived in the country, like where I lived. And then there was a small amount in town, so it was kind of crazy. But it was like,
Well,
if you
thanks
talk to my
for
parents, I was terrible.
yeah, thanks for answering my car question. We could talk about
Okay. So,
car
all
stuff.
right.
Hey, I got something for you, Wes, real
I
quick.
did answer the car question. I told you
No, I
what.
said you did. Yeah, I was thanking you
Oh,
for doing that.
oh okay.
Do you have to go to driving school, or can you be taught at home? Because I think here in Arizona, you don't. You have to do your test, obviously, but I don't think you have to. You can self teach or whatever, learn. Because where I came from back in the day, we used to have to go to a driving school.
So in Ontario, where I grew up, we had driver's ed in school. Like I think it's something that they dropped, but like you had to take the in class part and then you had the driving part. So like I would go
Like at
take
your school, like at your high school, or just random places out there you could sign up for.
no, it was at my high school. It was a class. So like you could get your driver's license without taking driver's training, but if you took driver's training, you got an insurance break. And my parents were like, "Yeah, we need that break because we can't afford insurance for every single
Hmm.
one of you." And
It may
so,
have been like that in Texas. I don't remember. I know that I didn't take it at school, but I went to a driving school. It was
yeah.
located in like a strip mall. And I had to go. I think it was like a 2 week course or something.
Well, in Idaho, it's that way now. Like I know because both my nieces and nephews have all taken it, and like you do like an online portion, and then they live in McCall, which is 2 hours away from here. They have to drive down here and to go driving for like 2 hours once like I think you had to do it like you have to do 6 hours of driving with the instructor. So my
Yeah,
English
there's like
teacher
a
taught me how
log
to
book.
drive,
There's
and it
like a
was kind of
time.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah, there's like a time log book we had to do.
yeah. My English teacher taught me how to drive, which was funny because I just still remember yelling at me, 10 and 2, 10 and 2, like they're telling you where to put your damn hands and all that stuff. And um, yeah, old Bobby Puckett. He was a good teacher. I liked him. Like I remember him, but I didn't like him as a driver's training teacher, but he was doing what he's supposed to do. He didn't want me to die. So
Sure.
I wasn't a great driver, but I am pretty good now. So yeah, I mean the car thing is pretty cool. It's nice to have the Honda. It's nice to have the Tahoe. I know you have done some stuff. Do you mind talking about what's going on with your NSX right now, or do you want to save that for another?
Let's save that for another time. I have some food downstairs. I'm smoking a rack of ribs, and I got to get to them.
Okay. Well, let's talk about before we go. We'll roll out here, but let's talk about what you have going on because I know you do a lot of car shows, and the latest one was kind of cool because you've done this Hot Wheels thing, and you had one
Oh yeah.
NSX, and now you have another one. And so it was really cool. I Googled you last night on One Drink Wednesday, and it was cool to see them side by side. That was kind of neat.
Yeah, that's the Hot Wheels Legends tour, and that's a thing they do. And I'm not affiliated with it for people watching or listening, so it's not like an ad spot we had to squeeze in there. But they move around, I think, to 10 or so cities every year. And a good buddy of mine is working that circuit this year, and so he's like, "Hey, it's coming to Phoenix," and it was actually at the Walmart right up the street from my house, like 2 miles. And last year when it was here, I had just bought the car, and I just stopped by and walked around and checked it out and left. But this time I registered for it, and I was one of the cars that were accepted. There was like 100 and something cars there, so it's not like it was, a lot of people were rejected. But it's one thing for, like, people have to understand that when you do an event like that, it's not your typical car show where everybody involved knows all about the cars and they want to see what's cool and different. It's actually a public event. So most of the people there, they're not just the people who brought their cars, but they're just families.
Yeah.
It's like you and the family. If you guys go up there and let's say Tatum loves the Hot Wheels, and Nolan loves the Hot Wheels, and you just guys want to get out and see some really cool stuff, they have the Hot Wheels, they have the real cars that they've been making Hot Wheels of. They're on display. So it's like next level stuff. And my car isn't one of those, but my car is kind of eye candy.
Hmm.
And so that's the type of cars that they also want to fill that show up with. So, there's the real car shows that I wouldn't typically ever enter because I don't consider myself to have a show car anymore. And then there's the shows like the Hot Wheels Legends Tour. And this Friday I'm going to be in another show called like the Lucky 13 Tattoo Benefit for Dogs, where they went out and just picked 13 different cars to display. Um, but that was the Hot Wheels thing was super cool. There's people are crazy about this stuff, Wes.
Yeah.
There's people that come out there and they stand in line for over an hour to get a special Hot Wheel that's unique to that event. And they'll pay $25-$30 just for that, which I think is crazy, but we all have our vices, right?
Yep.
And then the last one that I went to, I think it was 2019, was the other photo of the car right behind me on the wall. That looks like a toy already. So um, what they do is when you roll in, you park in front of that big Hot Wheels sign, and then they
Yeah.
have a photographer take a photo of your car where it kind of looks like it could be in a package, but not really. But it's just a really cool photo opportunity. So it was nice to have the contrast between the two cars.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. Like you said, it looks like it's a package. So if you ever bought a Hot Wheels, you see it's got like the little whole like cutout and everything. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty sweet. So you guys need to go take a look. You can see those. Those are on your Instagram, right?
they are at Jay Finning. And then if you guys want to check out just some of the other Hot Wheels cars, just look for Hot Wheels Legends Tour, and you'll see the pictures that they post from all over the United States. And think of the wildest Hot Wheel that you had as a kid or that you bought for kids. And they probably have it on the tour because they bring the cars around with them. And it's really cool.
Yeah,
Even the most bizarre stuff, most of those cars someone built. And that's the whole point of the Hot Wheels Legends Tour is they go through all the 10 cities. In each city, they have one car that wins. And then they put it up against all the other cars at the end of the year. And whoever wins it all overall becomes a Hot Wheel.
that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
You did a real good job of decorating your new car too to make it kind of look like something that I felt like you would see in a package too. With all
But
the logos and stuff and graphics on it.
yeah, yeah, I try to have fun with it. There's people who say, "Why would somebody do that to their car?" Well, because you can, and um, it's my car,
Yeah.
and it's removable. That's the thing. It's like changing the magnets on your fridge. At least with my car, it's just that easy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, I want to before you go, I want you to kind of give a plug to what's. I know that it's a ways out, but with One Auto, which is your car club, right? Or
Car community.
car community. I'm sorry. I know. I've known you. I know this,
It's
but
a
it's
hard thing. I even struggled explaining it. So
yeah. Well, it's a really cool thing because everyone is One Auto, like we've talked about before, um, and you can hear a really good breakdown on the last couple times that Jay's been on, but. One Auto is something that's really cool to me too. And you do a lot of things. And I really enjoy the fact that you get out in the community and you're doing things. And I want to talk about One Less a little bit. Just, I know it's a
okay,
ways away, but tell
it's not
people,
that far away.
yeah, yeah, I mean, it's like not happening next week, but it's happening, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's November 11th. This is our sixth one that we've done since 2019. If the math seems like it doesn't make sense, is because in 2019 we did two of them, and then we've done one every year. And it's a thing that One Auto does with Rad or Die, which Mimi.
Yep.
She used to be part of the One Auto Council, but she does have her own promotions and events things called Rad or Die. Rad, like super cool, or Die. That's her thing. I can't even begin to define it. I know it sounds a little weird, but we do that every year with the United Food Bank of Arizona,
Uh-huh.
and it's a car show and a bagging thing. So what we do is we challenge different car groups, teams, even local businesses to show up with as much food donations, and we tell them what they can and can't bring, and then we take the value of that, or they weigh it, and that's one way to do it. People financially contribute by going to the link. I have a link at the One Auto Movement Instagram. There's also a link on the One Auto Movement website under events, and then I even have the link on my own Instagram, and people can donate from anywhere. And it's tax. I mean, it's a charity, so you get the donation receipt, which is it's a win-win. But this year we have our parking lot back for the first time since 2019 because they've been doing construction. So it's going to be even bigger, more sponsors, more money for the people. And it's called One Less because statistically, 1 out of every 7 children go hungry in Arizona. 1 out of every 6 senior citizens go hungry, and it's a play on words because it's one auto. Um, but the goal is to help make one less family, one less senior citizen, one less child go hungry in the state of Arizona. And I think last year we had donations in donation bags for a total of like 17,300 and something meals in one event within 2 hours of work, which is fantastic. And in 2019, I think our record was like 18,000 and something meals. But that's back when we had a whole real legit car show aspect to it. So we're excited this year to get back to having that. And I set a goal for $8,000 on the site just to make it aggressive. But every single dollar that a car pays to register, vendors pay, sponsors pay, it all goes to the United Food Bank's registration site. And so it goes toward that goal. So pretty excited about it. But yeah, that's one less on November 11th.
Well, that's exciting. And one of the things that I always admire about you is that you are really into the community and you're really about, giving back. So I hope that you continue to do that because I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's One Auto is a car community or community of car owners that don't mind giving back to the community. It doesn't always have to be a car show, but everybody who owns a car is part of the community, right? And
Yeah.
then right now, there's a lot of things out there, these stupid streetcar takeovers that you see all over Instagram with kids doing donuts and killing each other. That's not what we are. And so, we're battling against public perception because for people who aren't into cars, they think that every car person's like that, or or they think we're all just a bunch of old people who sit around and stare at our cars on Saturday morning. And, not everybody's old like me, but we do have an opportunity to, make a difference in the community because what do I always say, Wes? You can make a difference or don't.
Yep, exactly. You have the choice.
Hmm.
Well, Jay, thanks for hanging out, man. It's been good to have you back on again, and I'm look forward to my numbers being higher because you were on. So thanks for helping me pump my numbers. I appreciate that. And
Thanks as always, Wes, and I will talk to you on Wednesday. Actually, I talk to you every day,
you'll talk to
pretty
me in
much.
a little
But
bit. It's not going to matter.
yeah, on an official capacity, like you said in the opening, we do One Drink Wednesdays every Wednesday. Right now, it's on Instagram Live,
Yep.
7 o'clock Pacific time. But at some point here, probably before the end of the year, we're going to migrate it to another platform so that everybody can enjoy it without having to go to Instagram.
Yep. Awesome, man. Well, you have a good evening, and thanks again. All right, everyone, that is the end of the show. I wanted to say thanks again to Jay. Jay is a really good friend of mine, and we talk every single day, so it's super cool to have him on here. And I look forward to you guys enjoying this show. And come join us on Wednesday at 7 o'clock, 7 Pacific Standard Time for One Drink Wednesday. Till next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.